Hello, everybody. Welcome to Targeting Winners. You're listening here on Spotify. Thank you for listening and watching us on YouTube. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. It's free and it helps us out. We got a little double feature this week. We just did our picks for Hate Week, and now we're talking about the coaching carousel. From Coach's Hot Seat, we got Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. We've been planning on this episode for a little over a week and a half. I was going to make the case for keeping Norvell and why Florida State should keep Norvell. Because everyone asking me, whether it's at work or in the store or whatever, I get everything together, get everything ready to go, and they already announced that they're keeping him. And totally, totally stole my thunder. So we're going to shift gears. We're going to do this on the fly. I was going to make the case for keeping him, and you were going to bash me over the head with why they should get rid of him. But so we're just going to talk about some coaching changes that have already happened. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, again, thank you. If you're looking at this graphic, under the potential openings, Florida State and Auburn are under the potential side. And, they are no longer potential. Auburn is open and Florida State is no longer an option for coaches. And on the bottom for other openings, Oklahoma State was actually filled this morning, I believe, with a coach from North Texas. And Virginia Tech was filled by our good pal, friend of the show, James Franklin. So we'll get into all that. What do you think about FSU keeping Norvell?
Well, it's funny. I have the site Coach's Hot Seat, but I'm not big on firing the coach. If you have an alternative or you have a way to make it work, I think you're better off. You're going to end up with a hefty buyout, and that's just like burning money. If you can put money into the NIL, or you can upgrade some facilities, or you can bring in some support staff, I think you're better off. One of the vacancies we don't have there is the Cal opening. I think they did that up at Cal with Justin Wilcox. They gave him every single opportunity. It was 9 years, and 9 years before they decided to make a change. So, if you've got a coach that's in the first couple of years, I'm just not a big fan of it. So I think they probably are erring on the right side by keeping him because they can invest that money into the program. And the issues that I see there, he changed coordinators last year. It looks like that helped them, although it didn't show up in the win column. But if you look at their numbers, the numbers are better. So if we can work on the culture and how to integrate the players coming out of the portal, maybe this can get turned around.
Right. Oh, Darren pops in looking all Christmassy.
Darren, how are you? Look how festive.
Yeah, one of countless trees. Mark, good to see you, man. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Doing all right.
Well, I think when it comes down to the culture, I think part of that is he was so heavy on the transfer portal. So you're always bringing in 25 plus kids. I mean, he's the anti-Dabo because Dabo doesn't bring anybody in.
Right.
He just dabs a little bit. Maybe brought in 2 people, I think, this past year. I think maybe the best way is to find a happy medium, maybe be like 70% Dabo. I'm a big on the recruiting guy, and instead of using the NIL money to buy players to bring them here, recruit the players, use the NIL money to keep the ones that you want to keep there. Let the ones go that want to go, keep recruiting. And then if you find 1 or 2 difference makers, whether in the transfer portal or if you find one incoming, freshman that, hey, maybe we should pay a little extra for this guy, like an Underwood kid up in Michigan or something like that. Maybe open up the wallet a little bit to get them in there. Again, I think patience is the big thing. I think it doesn't, like you said, doesn't make any sense to fire Norvell this year. It was supposed to be a rebuilding year anyway. I mean, if you remember, we kind of tripped into, the national championship conversation by beating Alabama. that first week, and then they went from unranked, where everyone thinks they're going to lose, to being ranked 8th, like in 1 week, unranked to 8th,
right
on one game, which is why I hate the polls. Anyway, that's a different show altogether. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think Norvell would have been under so much pressure? Let's just say we lost to Alabama, but beat Stanford and Virginia. I mean, if we do that, we're bowl eligible already, even with the loss to Pitt and the loss to NC State, but maybe without the expectations of, oh, we're going to win the national championship because we just beat Alabama. I mean, I'm thinking maybe the pressure to let them go wouldn't have been as high. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
It's funny. I think that that set a high expectation, and I think that's if you look around the country, you can see that there is either a win or a loss that sets off the fan base, and the expectations are out of control. I also think that in Norvell's case, the way he's bringing the players in through the portal, Pete Carroll always has this thing about, always compete, that you've got to compete for your job. No matter what, you come in through the portal, you come in wherever, you're going to compete for the job. We're not just going to hand it to you. And I think he got in trouble when there was a backup quarterback that Florida State had at the end of the 23 season that went to Southern Miss.
Yes, Tomanecki, or whatever his name was.
Yes. And so the reason that he transferred was because, they basically told him, look, we're going to recruit a starter, and you're going to be the backup. They didn't give him a chance to compete for it. And everyone they brought in was probably better than him, and he probably wouldn't have won the job, but you would have proven it to every other player on the team. And so it wasn't the quarterback you had to worry about. It was the rest of the team that needed to see that competition and needed to know it was fair.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. I don't know, Darren, how were you? Were you on the Fire Norvell train, or?
No, and you know what? Actually, it's funny. I heard something about him being retained this morning, and Mark can probably speak to this, but as far as Florida State and how much money they had, I guess they weren't. I mean, I don't want to say they're financially strapped, because they're certainly not, but between the buyout that they would have had to give him, hiring somebody else, and then there's always that, well, if you fire him, who do you bring in? But I had heard they retained him. It was kind of like more of a money decision. I mean, Mark, did you hear that? Is that accurate? Or?
Yeah, I've heard that the boosters wouldn't pony up the money. Like they don't buy that. They don't have faith in the athletic department to find somebody better, right? So if I'm going to pony up the money for this, you better get somebody really good, and you better back them up. And that doesn't seem to be there. They're just saying, look, we funded the stadium improvements, we've funded the NIL. We're not funding
football only facility too.
Yeah. Yes.
That was the big thing that made but the excuse Jimbo Fisher used when he left is that he wanted a football only facility and stadium upgrades. I mean, they just did that. So obviously, I think it's other things with his personal life, but that's what led to the whole fiasco at the end there. But yeah, I think with the new upgrades and everything, I think it would lean more towards the recruiting side. It'd be a lot easier to get a recruit to go there when they see the brand new, still got that new car smell for the whole, facility and everything. So hopefully we'll see. And I've seen a few. They've had a couple commits flip. One flipped from South Carolina. I saw another one, I think, flipped from Texas Tech or something, a receiver or something the other day. I forget what school I saw, but they got a defensive back from South Carolina. But I think he was at Florida State, then he flipped South Carolina. Now he flipped back. With these kids, who the hell knows what they're going to do? But they'll probably change their mind like 8 times before signing day. But yeah, I mean, I was always for keeping them. And the way I listen to all the podcasts. The main one we have is like this guy, Double Fries No Slaw, and there's a couple of like the Locked On and the On 3, and they're all just like pissing all over Norvell. So it makes me want him to come back and just totally turn it around.
Yeah.
And then you want those guys to just go away. Don't even talk because you were like, want them out. I just don't like the weather vanes. Whatever way the
Yeah.
wind blows, that's where they're going. So.
And it seems to be amplified over the last couple of years where, you lose a game and oh my God, everybody goes banana. I look at my own school. I look at USC. Okay. So I don't know anybody who thought we were going to win the Big Ten or, do anything other than what we're doing. I think we thought we'd have a 9-win season or an 8-win season. Okay. So the idea that we're underachieving now is crazy. We're right on track. We're vastly improved from last year. We're much more physical than we were, and it's not done yet. It's not ready yet. It's not all baked. Our rebuild really started when our general manager showed up. It didn't start when Lincoln Riley showed up. It started when Chad Bowen showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So we're year 2 into that. We're entering year 3 next year. But one loss, this Oregon loss, and Feinbaum is saying it's time for him to go, and people are talking about he's on the hot seat. He's not.
Yeah. Thing in college football, a lot of people love calling for other people's jobs.
Yeah.
I think just because they can. So
yeah.
But one thing, I just want to show this other picture. We got these teams here are models of consistency. We got the Raiders, the Browns, the Jets, the Jaguars, Falcons. Consistently bad, but they're models of consistency, and they always fire their coach like every 5 years. New attitude, new offensive philosophy, new defensive philosophy. Yeah, same as it ever was. It just repeats. When was the last time any of these teams? Well, maybe the Jaguars a few years ago, they had a decent record, but all these teams are perpetually picking in the top 6 of the draft. At least definitely in the top 10 every year. So yeah, I like the whole thing about keeping your coach. And like I said, the first time they were like 2-10 his first year. Then they were like, I think they were 7-5, and then they went 10-2, and then they went to the 13-0. So this year was supposed to be 6-6, 7-5. That's where Florida State is. Next year, hopefully they get over the hump. I know these are professional teams, but college teams do this all the time too. You don't really have to go far. The next picture here, look at the Gators. Since Urban Meyer left, every 3 or 4 years, Billy Napier, who's that? Dan Mullen, forgot about him. He's at UNLV now. So
Yep.
McElwain, that he was very forgettable. I couldn't even. Where is he now anyway?
He just retired. He was at
like Central Michigan or something like that.
Yeah, I want to say it was a directional school. I thought so. And then Will Muschamp, I think he was at South Carolina. I don't know where the hell he is now. But I'm sure he's got enough money. One thing about these coaches, when they get fired, the checks keep coming still.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's hard to feel bad for them. But, and then, got my favorite school of all time. I got Miami. It's all about the U here, so. And
it was
they're
funny.
talking.
We had a preseason. We had Mario as a potential top 10 hot seat guy. We were really watching that, because if you looked at the win-loss record, it wasn't terrific, and it wasn't something that you'd go, wow, look at that. I think he was at 56%, a 56% winning percentage, and it was really. He recruited a great quarterback. He got him out of the portal. That's really what got him last year. So we were really watching it, and I think he's gotten himself out of that position, but it was one to keep an eye on.
Well, you mentioned the winning percentage. I saw this tweet. Actually, I have on my next slide this tweet from Florida State legend Danny Cannell, a noted SEC hater. Manny Diaz, same winning percentage as Cristobal at Duke. So maybe, I don't know, maybe keep Manny, see if he can coach his way out of it. I didn't follow what went on there. I was just too busy enjoying it, but I didn't really pay attention. I knew that Miami was sucking, and that was just good enough for me. But that's something to, again, there are some decent coaches here. Al Golden kind of resurrected he's like a defensive guy now.
Yeah.
What team is he on? The Bears now? Did he? Did
He
go
left
on
Notre Dame to go with the Bengals. Poor
the
career.
Bengals?
Just
Oh,
putting that
boy.
out there. I'm just saying. You just
So-
stayed where you were at.
Yeah.
Because as a Notre Dame fan, we're done with Chris Trash, as Notre Dame Twitter lovely calls him. But,
Yeah.
I
You know,
bet-
Manny Diaz, like I said, he's doing good. I mean, he got Mark Richt. I don't know how. I thought he would have been there the longest, but then when you think about it, I know he played there. He backed up Jim Kelly way back when, and I think he backed up Bernie Kosar too. So that's, I guess, if you're going to be a quarterback coach, I think that's where you got to start. He watched two of the good ones, but in his time that he left and came back as a coach, he went. I mean, call it what you will, but he went like super, like he became like a born again Christian, and now he's going to the area of Michael Irvin, Nevin Shapiro, and Luther Campbell, and like, gee, it's hard to think that he didn't fit in there. But yeah, so he was only there for 3 years, and he's probably maybe the best of these 5, I would say. Just what I mean, he did well at Georgia. He wasn't terrible.
No, I think he had health issues. If I recall, there were some health issues that started to show up, and that was really why I think he took himself. I think that's why he left. That was the main driver.
I actually noticed that he's on the ACC show every week. He does look different. I wonder if he did get sick or something. I don't know. But hopefully he's doing okay. He's by all counts excellent human being. So, but yeah, again, 5 coaches in the last 10 to 12 years, maybe.
Yeah, the other one, look at is Auburn. I mean, you're at $100 million in buyouts since the year 2000. So this century, you spent.
A&M got that in 2 years or 2 coaches.
And what did you get for it?
I don't. That's a lot of money per win. I mean, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Hope it's worth it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it goes through college. I mean, there are other coaches that we talked about earlier. That's the Canal thing. We spoke earlier. There was actually whispers about Sarkisian up there at Texas. I mean, I think it's a mistake to fire him now. I mean, he lost 2 games, and they're already talking about, or I think it died down, but earlier in the year they were talking right after the Florida game. Excuse me, they were talking about that. I don't know if you had any thoughts about Sarkisian.
I think Sarkisian's a really good coach, and he's a really good offensive mind. He you might want to give up the play calling. That would gives you a different perspective as a head coach when you're not the guy calling the plays. That would probably be the improvable there, but I certainly wouldn't fire him. I think he put together a really good program at Texas. It was the program I wish he put together for us.
Where's Tom Herman nowadays? He at FIU? Is that where he was, or
he was at FIU? I think he was fired last year.
I think he got his job a little too early because he was at Houston, right? When they took
yeah.
I don't know, Darren. Do you think there's anything to it? Like, you keep calling these coaches up early from the group?
No, but you know what I'm actually kind of looking forward to is with these new rules with the portal. I only have like a 2-week window starting in early January. I wonder if you're going to see a situation where all these open positions are going to get filled, and I wonder how much these hires, like, who can you bring with you? And I bring that up because today, I know you did that graphic like a week or so ago, but the North Texas coach is taking over for our boy Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, and he's got himself a nice quarterback down there in Drew Mestermaker. Does he follow his coach? I mean, I just wonder if you're bringing in a coach, are you trying to get these coaches to bring their best players with them? Or are you, because they can't leave anymore. Like, after a coach leaves, they don't have that 30-day window to go in the portal automatic anymore. It's like you have from the 2nd to the 16th, I think it is. And that's it. So I think like January 2nd, 6 a.m. comes around. We're all going to wake up to, oh, okay, well, this coach is here. He brought in this guy. Or if you're going to have offense coordinators bring their quarterbacks with them, like we see the success that Oklahoma's had when Arbuckle and Mateer both came over from Washington State. I just wonder if it's not going to be all about the coach anymore that you can get. It's like, who can you bring with you?
Well, that's what Kurt Cidetti did at Indiana. He brought
exactly,
the majority of his roster, and he brought most of his assistant coaches. And so what that gave him was he didn't have to create his systems or his cultures. His players helped him do that. And there's something to be said for that. But I also think I don't think that's going to be. I think this would be the exception rather than the rule. I don't think you're going to be able to do it like he did it. It was kind of a unique situation for him.
Right. I just wonder how many programs are going to try that, because you see, like, Marshall gets rid of Huff.
I was just going to bring them up.
Yeah, he goes to Southern Miss. He brings 36 players with him, and then one went away from playing for the Sun Belt title game next week after going, 1-11 or whatever it was. So you see in other programs where that continuity helps, and it just kind of makes filling in the rest of the roster maybe not as difficult.
I also think it's part of what leads to the outsized expectations that, you're coming in, look what he did at Indiana. Look what Huff did at Southern Miss. Like, why can't you do that? So, fans have to kind of temper their expectations a little bit, I think.
Right. We got a couple other coaching positions here. These are two targeting winners favorites here. We got Brian Kelly and our boy James Franklin. Let's talk about Kelly first. I think this would be the easy one, I guess. I mean, it's hard to defend him. I mean, he's been I think he's had about 9 or 10 wins every year at LSU. Has a real tough stretch, and they get rid of him. And it sounds like I'm defending him, but, no one likes this guy. I haven't heard anyone say, he really helped me out and whatever. I don't know if you have, but everyone I've seen, it's always these wild, stories about what he did to coaches or did to players or anything. I was just wondering if you heard anything, because I'm thinking anybody outside of his immediate family, like no one outside of his immediate family likes him. Like, I think his in-laws are kind of sweating that he's going to be at Thanksgiving this year. Is this guy really coming this year? So, But I don't know what you guys think about Kelly, but I thought it was, not to sound like I'm defending him, but I thought it was a little bit offsides a little bit. I don't know what you guys think. Well,
the governor drove this, and the athletic director got fired because he wouldn't do what the governor wanted. So it was a big political thing. It also had some roots in the basketball coaching change that they made or didn't make. And so there's a lot here that has nothing to do with football. So, if I'm somebody going in, there's, the LSU job has some really built-in advantages, but do I want to go jump into this? Do I want the governor telling me how to do coach the team? Do I want any part of that? I don't know.
Right. Any thoughts there on Brian Kelly?
The greatest thing he did for my Notre Dame Fighting Marcus Freedmans was leave. So I have a soft spot in my heart for the guy. Yes, his lawyers are complaining today that LSU is making it difficult for him to find work. He'll end up somewhere because, like you said, Tim, he wins. Maybe not to the level that an SEC program would like him to win, but the guy wins. He's still, I believe, the winningest coach in Notre Dame history, as much as that pains me to say it. But I think that I kind of think the LSU job is kind of decent just from a recruiting standpoint. What other school in Louisiana is going against you for top level players? I think whether it's Kiffin or not, I think whoever goes there, if they're any kind of recruiter, can probably build a pretty good program. I was going to start with quarterback because Nussmeier is done, but I think that's a pretty good job. We actually discussed this, the three that were open, and we all had a different three that we thought was the best one. And I thought LSU was, just from the recruiting standpoint. But I get what you're saying, as far as, I don't need to be politics. I don't want the governor telling me how to do my job. So I certainly see that side of it as well. But I think that's a pretty good job. You can get it.
I agree with you on the recruiting front. It's a terrific job for that. If they continue going the way they're going, they might give Sonny Cumbie an edge in recruiting, as it would be more attractive to go there. But and I say that jokingly.
I know.
I was like, where are you hearing this from?
the recruiting angle is definitely it has a recruiting advantage that nobody else has.
Yeah. Well, then moving on, we got James Franklin, another targeting winner's favorite here. I mean, say what you want about him. I think he got screwed.
Yeah.
By Penn State. I mean, I know. Okay, the two game one was one loss wasn't really that bad. You lose to Oregon by 3. I know it's at home, whatever. But I mean, for what he did, they come out of all the Paterno stuff. Bill O'Brien comes in for 2 years for a cup of coffee and says, "I'm going to go destroy the Houston Texans." And then this guy comes in and just stabilizes it, gets it to where they're perennial. Again, I hate the polls, but in the polls, all the important polls, they've been in the top 10, if not top 5. I mean, they were favorites this year until the wheels just fell off. Just to have a bad stretch, that's enough to just get them fired. I think he got screwed over. I think they're going to regret firing him. Virginia Tech got a great hire here. I think that's going to maybe help elevate the ACC a little bit, get some more top level coaches in there, and see. I mean, I think at Penn State he would eventually win a title. You can't just keep getting all that talent. Eventually, you get the right quarterback, you get the right, the right line, the right combination of everything, and it all just happens. So they said Andy Reid could never win the big one, years ago, and now the guy's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. He gets the right quarterback, and there you go. But so I don't know if you guys have any thoughts to expand on that a little bit, but I think he got screwed.
Yeah, I didn't like the way the athletic director handled this at all. He he heard the chants in the stadium, and he went home and slept on it and made an emotional decision and didn't have a plan. And if you're going to do something like this with a coach like that, you better have a plan. And he didn't have one, so they're still looking around for someone. And James Franklin, I got it. He didn't win the big game, right? That's been the complaint about him. But it's like you said, he stabilized the program. And, man, he really represented that school well. He was an ambassador for Penn State. If you were someone and, you were wearing a Penn State shirt and James Franklin saw you at the grocery store, he'd take a picture with you and he'd make a big deal about you, part of the Penn State family. I mean, that's above and beyond, what a coach has to do. He was all in. And you're right. I think Virginia Tech, who's making a pretty sizable investment into their football program, they're really beefing stuff up. They're putting a lot of money into it. And I think they hired the right coach to take advantage of those investments.
Darren, any thoughts on your buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of that, but he did have a couple of years where he had, multiple guys. I mean, and I think after the UCLA loss, we had talked about it, and I don't think any of us thought he should have got fired, because if you're going to fire him, you need to have somebody set up, to bring it. And like Mark said, they didn't have anybody, But I think that it was a couple of years, a few years in a row of. Okay, you beat everybody you're supposed to, but every time you play somebody good, you don't get the job done. But again, like Mark also said, I don't think Penn State has a plan. They're still looking. The guy's an excellent recruiter. I mean, he didn't go far away from Penn State, so I think he's still going to be able to get the best of all the Maryland, the D.C., Virginia, and even Pennsylvania area to come and play for him. And Tim, to your comment, it's not going to take a whole lot to elevate the ACC. They're kind of not very good this year. Yeah. I saw that, you can get your futures bet for 2026. You can bet over 7.5 for Virginia Tech plus money. I don't know if I would go that far. But I mean, if you give it 2-3 years, I could see Virginia Tech back competing for ACC championships.
And just talking about, we couldn't win the big game, can't win the big game. We're all clamoring for Lane Kiffin. I mean, he beat Georgia last year, so he has one more.
Yeah, he doesn't really win big games either. I don't understand that, but
he was fired on the tarmac. We were talking about that before with Mark before we started recording. He got off the plane and said, "Here, step this way. You're not even going back to the stadium with the team." So, I mean, and I was listening to Bomani Jones, his show, and they were like, can we stop acting like Lane Kiffin's still 30 years old? The guy's 50 something. I mean, he's not like this guy that's got to pull it all together. He's in his 50s, I guess. So, I mean, he got hired by the Raiders. He was very young.
Bro, watch what you say about guys in their 50s.
Yeah. Can't trust those old guys.
Be no 50-year-old slander on this show.
And just so we're clear, it really wasn't the tarmac. There's a little, we have a terminal that we split with UCLA on the backside of the airport. It was in that building, and they had told him that they wanted to talk to him in the building while he was on the airplane. So I get it. Firing him on the tarmac's a better story.
All right. Did he walk through that tunnel? That little jetway? Did he walk through that thing, or is it all on the ground?
No, I think it's all on the ground.
Oh, it's all on the ground. Okay. Yeah, tarmac sounds better.
Yeah, I know. It does. It's a better story.
Here's an Uber. If Uber was even around back then. So, well, anyway, we know where this leaves FSU because they just retained them. So this was the part originally planned where I was going to give my two choices. I was going to give my second choice first, and then my number one choice to replace Norvell. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but we can talk about maybe my two choices and where you think they're going to end up now, because I think both of these guys are going to get hired.
Should we get chips and a drink? Because if you're about to rant for like 20 minutes,
no.
Mark and I probably need a beverage.
Before you joined us, I said keeping Norvell was my first choice.
I came in like a couple minutes after. You were like, "Oh, come on in. We're getting ready to start." I hop in, and you're already like 3 minutes in. So I didn't know how much of your
it was my first choice
started.
So,
before I came in.
Yeah, normally I would just be getting done with my rant had they just fired him already and not waited.
All
so
right, I'm just checking.
So, my number two choice is Tulane coach John Summerall. I don't know how you guys feel. I feel it's his third step up. We talked earlier, the Sun Belt we think is probably the weakest of the group of five. Now he's in the American and doing well there with Tulane, with the recruiting ties to Louisiana, with the increased ties. If he went to Florida State to coach there, also he's a defensive guy. He played for Kentucky, grew up in Alabama. He coached in the SEC on defense, so he knows all the dealing with the big O lines and the receivers and scheming a defense in the SEC. And I liked how he also goes after junior college kids first before the transfer portal, but he does use the transfer portal as well. So he was my second choice. I really like this guy. He's not going to be at Tulane, I don't think, next year. I think he's definitely of the 9 or 10 spots that are open, he's on the short list of at least 7 of them. I can only imagine. I don't know how you guys feel about John Summerall.
I heard Auburn, but I don't know what Mark's more in tune with that stuff. I don't know what he's heard.
Well, I've heard that. Listen, the Kentucky fans are all drooling over him, and they want to kill Mitch Barnhart because of Mark Stoops' contract that they can't seem to get out of, because they would hire him in a minute.
He played there.
Yeah, I haven't heard Auburn. I hadn't heard that, but that wouldn't shock me. I think in the next week a lot of this is going to get settled. So we'll see where he ends up.
Yeah. Auburn sounds. He grew up in Alabama, so maybe I don't know if he grew up an Auburn fan or an Alabama fan. You got to pick one in that state. You can't just grow up there and root for
UAB's open.
I don't think that counts. So, but yeah, that was my second choice. And, my number one choice after keeping Norvell was, this guy. Does he look familiar, Darren?
I was waiting to see a picture of Marcus Freeman, but
No.
That's another way.
He's a hell of a coach. I would love that, but I think Notre Dame's going to keep that guy. If you're watching on YouTube, Jimbo Fisher, Jimbo Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Here we go. Look, he joined A&M at the onset of the NIL. I think he made some mistakes with the NIL. I think he's learned from his mistakes. Also, we talked earlier about, because of the money situation, they couldn't get, they couldn't fire Norvell, and that's probably the main reason why. They could probably get Jimbo pretty cheap because he's getting $70 million from Texas A&M regardless. And they can get a championship level coach for, maybe minimum wage. Who knows what they want to pay him because he's already getting $7 million. And another thing, we know he's a championship coach because, he did it before. So that little glass football looks like something that would be on your grandmother's coffee table. That's the old championship trophy. It's a Sears trophy. Was it still the Sears trophy?
I don't know. I have a question before you send Mark and I your $30 copay for listening to your therapy session. What year was that?
2013.
Okay, it's now 2025, which in college football is like 100 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of recruiter he was, but how old is he?
He's 59, I believe. I think he's still in his 50s. He might be 60.
Well, he got some city miles on him. He looks a lot older than that, but I mean, it's a different animal today from when he was there, man. I mean, you gotta.
Well, you talk about 2013 being the last time they won. I mean, Notre Dame hasn't won since the Reagan administration, so
probably longer than that. But
I think Reagan was the president. 88, 89, they won. 88, they won, right? So I mean, look, he knows how to recruit. He can scout talent. I mean, the story that a lot of people tell is that he went looking at some linebacker, and there was some, 2-star, 3-star running back that nobody gave him offers. Not even Miami offered him. It was Devontae Freeman, and he's 4th round draft pick. Great, won a national championship here. Would probably have won a Super Bowl if Kyle Shanahan knew how to call plays, but so he can scout. I think he can learn from his mistakes, from his mishandling of the NIL, because when you get all that money, it's really easy to spend. If you got Texas A&M oil money, just taking wheelbarrows of money, just dumping it on you, it's easy to just throw it out and get whatever 5-star you can get, and then not really worried about their character and their enthusiasm and attitude and stuff like that, their work ethic once they get the money. But he can definitely recruit. There's one other thing I want to show you. This is another thing I wanted to bring in here. Let me see. Is it on there? So this is why I think it'd be a good fit.
Give a round of applause.
They chanted his name and he got all
2013 national championship winning head coach here at Florida State.
Well, listen to what he says at the end.
Jimbo Fisher, coach. I see that emotion in your eyes. What are you feeling?
I think he knows he messed up.
Come on, baby.
When he left.
Coach, remember your family growing up here and hearing that
signed that contract
when you heard it.
He didn't mess up nothing.
Well,
something to him.
Listen to this, though.
I didn't think I'd be crying this morning, Coach. It is, can't be, boy. Man, I love that. Players and memories. It's Miami week.
Yeah. Damn. And you
right there. Right there. It's Miami week. 7-1 against Miami. 7-1 against Florida. I mean, this is, you always see those things, when they hired Urban Meyer or Jim Harbaugh, they always go to that basketball game and it's like, in 180 days when we play Ohio State, we're going to kick their ass and everything. They know it's not just another game. He knows this Miami week. He knows when it's Florida week. He knows how important those games are. 7-1 against both of them. I think this would have been the best coach. Redemption Tour, Electric Boogaloo Part 2, Jimbo Part 2, the sequel, whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to go to Penn State. He'd be a good hire there. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Well, I think, knowing the school and knowing, who's important and who's not, and being able to, to get not only the team but the fans up for the playing those games is pretty important, and sometimes that gets lost. There are coaches now that don't know who the rival is, and they don't get the team up for it, and or the fans. So that he at least knows that is something in his favor. And I think they could get him cheap. If they were having back channel conversations with coaches to replace Norvell, he would have been one I would have been talking to, because he would have solved the financial piece.
That's probably the biggest piece.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they have the billionaire lady who created Spanx, I guess that's some kind of women's underwear or something. I don't know what the hell she made. I don't know what the hell they are, but it's kind of like a Lululemon kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went to Florida State, so she's a billionaire. I don't know, Darren. What do you think about Lululemon and Spanx?
I love Lululemon. My wife and daughter wear it exclusively because it's a wonderful brand. If you can adjust, if you can support $98 for a pair of leggings, but hey, power to you.
Right. But I think he's from West Virginia. I think it'd be good for him up there at Penn State. I don't know have you heard of him for any other jobs or.
His name comes up. His name comes up every once in a while, but it doesn't seem to go past the first pass. It's like it's somebody that we're going to talk to as we're gauging interest.
Yeah. Okay.
So he may be being. I know he wants back into coaching, but he can also afford to be choosy, and he may be being choosy.
Absolutely. When you got $70 million in the bank, yeah, you can pick your spots. Maybe he waits one more year. Maybe they, if Norvell can't turn it around next year, maybe he'll wait another year. And plus, he's got that cushy job on the ACC show. I mean, a lot of the coaches now they get that TV job, and they're like, "Hey, this is pretty nice. It's a lot better than staying up till 4 a.m. every day going over film and stuff." Any thoughts, Darren, on Jimbo?
None.
None.
I know that's your boy. You got a soft spot in your heart for him. But,
yeah. So Jimbo is your version of Lane Kiffin for me. Just
yes.
Jimbo Fisher, pass. Not betting it.
You notice I didn't bet a Florida State game all year.
Well, that's true. You didn't.
Wow.
Well, let's look at some of these other coaching opens here. Let me see. We got. So who's going to win the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes here, Mark? Who are you thinking?
If I'm Lane, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, why not just stay right there?
I think I think out of all of those jobs, he's got the best one for him. His family has integrated themselves into Mississippi. They like it there. He's doing well there. He seems to fit in with the school. You go to Florida and, maybe you don't fit in. You go to LSU and the governor gets mad at you. And, we all know Lane's personality. He can tick people off. So you tick the governor off and the next thing you know, you're gone. So I kind of think he's got a good thing going.
Yeah, that's the one thing about college football is like, it's run by boosters who are fans. So you're basically acting. They used to in the NFL. Well, if you think like the fans, you got to be sitting with them. But now that doesn't, hold true here. It's like if you don't think with the fans, you're going to be sitting with them. I think he would stay right there. I mean, he seems to have everything set. It's, I don't think there's a pressure on him to win, 11, 12 games every year. I mean, I think if he were to do what he's doing now every year, even if they don't, I'm sure they will want a championship eventually. But I mean. It's not going to be a Franklin situation where if he loses 2 or 3 in a row, they're going to kick him out.
I'm sure he's going to win a championship there eventually too. If he sticks around. He's the king of the mountain, and he's in charge of his own program. You go somewhere else, and the grass isn't always greener. No,
that's Dan Lanning was like. They asked him about his name doesn't come up, and he's like, "Well, the grass is pretty damn green right here."
Yeah,
so he says he's staying right there in Oregon. That's the smartest move. I mean,
he's got a mega booster who writes a check and gets out of his way. I
think he owns some kind of athletic shoe company.
That's what I've heard. That's what I heard.
Yeah, something about that. He might have a couple dollars to throw around. So maybe Kalen DeBoer, maybe eventually, if he doesn't win a title soon at Alabama, might regret leaving Washington. I don't know. I mean,
he had it pretty good at Washington, and
it didn't take long for them to call for. I mean, they've stopped now because he's won like 8 straight or whatever after the FSU game, but it didn't take long. They were shipping him out of town week 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Any other jobs on here that pique your interest there, boys?
I'll just say one thing about the Kiffin. I agree with Mark that I think Ole Miss is where he should stay. But I think mid-January rolls around, I believe him and Trinidad Chambliss will be members of LSU. I think he's going. And I think he's bringing his QB with him.
Huh. That would suck for that one. I know there's LSU with some linebackers dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. Can you imagine if he pisses her off? He's going to be running gassers for hours a day. That poor kid.
So if I look at this, so Oregon State's interesting. They were one of the leftovers from the original Pac-12. Elevated Trent Bray, who it just didn't work. And it wasn't an ugly parting. It was I had an Oregon State mega booster message me, and he said, "Look, there's no hard feelings. It just didn't work." But Cal fired Justin Wilcox earlier this week, and that's now the leading name at Oregon State. So we may see Oregon alum Justin Wilcox coaching Oregon State, and that would be a good landing spot for him.
Okay. Now, if Lane Kiffin does go to LSU, who does Florida get? Have you heard any rumblings? I hope it's not John Summerall. That would suck.
No, I did hear a name, and I can't remember who it was. And it wasn't John Summerall. I can't remember who.
Another name I keep hearing was the SMU coach, Lashley.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. I
didn't think he would either.
Yeah, I think he resigned. He resigned. Didn't he?
Yeah,
did he? I missed.
He resigned, and he's getting there exactly what he needs, which is a lot of money into the NIL and a lot of money into supporting, support positions and facility upgrades, and he's getting everything he wants at SMU.
Yeah, well, SMU is the original NIL team with Eric Dickerson and all that. So Pony
That's
Express,
a great 30 for 30, by the way. If you've ever watched the Pony Express, that is an awesome 30 for 30.
Oh,
I'll just read some of this. I'm looking at some current favorites. Being a betting show and all. LSU does have Lane Kiffin at minus 175, which is pretty hefty. Penn State has Bob Chesney at even money. Florida's got Jed Fish at plus 110.
That's the other name. That's the name I've heard is Jed Fish.
And Auburn has John Summerall at minus 500.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Bob Chesney at Penn State would be a good fit, and boy, that would mess up UCLA's plan.
Wow, interesting. Well, between now and all these, the next couple of weeks, and all these jobs will be getting filled, and then we got the transfer portal. We got a lot to look forward to, fellas. Going to be exciting. Get your popcorn ready, as somebody once said.
Yeah, you'll be looking for look for some other openings too, because I don't think you're going to see a lot of firings. I think you're going to see a lot of coaches that are on our top 10 are going to be sticking around. But as these jobs are filled, some other job is going to open up, and that's where you want to look. It'll be interesting to watch what happens there.
Yeah, Luke Fickell likes to go stay in Wisconsin.
He is.
We did not see that coming.
Yeah. Michigan State.
I think of a lot of it, and you guys probably touch on this, is like, who do you get?
Well, that's it. That's just it.
But the pipeline is just thinned out because everybody gets moved up, I think, too quickly.
All right, but you're a big name program. You're looking for another big name. I mean, there's not that many big names out there. I mean, I think a lot of these programs are going to let somebody go. I mean, SEC coming in this year, all 16 head coaches were the same. 4 of them were gone, by Halloween? Who I'm just curious to see who those for. I mean, because any SEC coaching job is a pretty good job. I just don't know who all these schools are going to get. Do you pull from the NFL ranks? Do you promote the hot OC or DC? I think it's all going to happen, like Mark said, pretty darn quick because, the portal being the 2nd to the 16th. I mean, a lot of these schools start classes, 3 or 4 days after the portal opens. I mean, these kids got to get in, get registered, and start going to class. So I think it's going to be crazy.
It used to be that, if you wanted to make a coaching change, you made the decision the season before, right? And in the off season, you did your back channel inquiries, and then you go into the next season, and there's a few losses, and then you part ways. But it was very choreographed, and the statements came out. They were written by the university PR department, and the statements came out. It's very genteel, and people went on their way, and then the new guy came in a couple of weeks later. It's not like that now. It's it's seat of the pants. It's emotional. There's not a lot of back channel conversations. They're making decisions very quickly, and it's like you said that a lot of coaches probably aren't ready for it.
Well, any final thoughts before we wrap this up, and we'll send everyone on our way into Thanksgiving.
Look at they're the crosstown rival at UCLA. I've always admired UCLA because it's a really, really, really good school, and they just do their thing, right? And they handled their coaches pretty well, but that is really changed under Martin Jarmond. There are fan bases that are really angry at a few of the athletic directors. I know that, down at UAB, they have every right to be mad at Mark Ingram. He's been horrible for them. Mitch Barnhart has backed Kentucky into 2 contracts with 2 different coaches that they couldn't get out of. But Martin Jarmond is digging a hole that I've never seen. I've never seen an athletic director go into the stands and pick a fight with the boosters. But Martin Jarmond's done it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there. They don't have the built-in stuff that some of these other schools have that make the job attractive. LSU has recruiting. UCLA doesn't have that.
No. Well, they say a lot of football talent in California, but it's just not going there.
I'm curious to see what Stanford does, honestly. I know Andrew Luck and Frank Reich were like, okay, you're just going to be the fill-in for the year. But, they have won 4 games, which is, I think, 2 more than a lot of people thought they were going to win. And, the transfer portal is so tough for them because their academic requirements are so high, and rightfully so. God forbid somebody go to college and get an education. But I don't see why he wouldn't keep Frank Reich, man. Okay, he did 1 year. I think 4 wins was a successful year for Stanford. I'm not sure what Andrew Luck has planned, but I'm anxious to see what he does.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't think Frank Reich wants it. I think he did it as a favor to Andrew Luck. The smart thing Andrew Luck did was get Troy Taylor out of there. That was just a bad fit, and it wasn't going to get better. So he moved quickly. And Andrew is really a smart guy, and I think he's got a line. I'm hearing he's got a line on somebody that would be a really good fit for them. It is an interesting part because they don't even sell out. They've got a 50,000 seat stadium that's empty. And there's been times when they put a pretty good product on the field and still the stadium, it's just empty.
Yeah. Nothing's more depressing, I don't think, in sports than a football stadium that no one just shows up for the games. It's horrible.
Did you watch the UMass game tonight? Tuesday, 4:30 in the afternoon on Thanksgiving week. I've been 300 people there. It's
God. How much were tickets, I wonder? $5?
Probably free. At that point, the school even in session, I don't know why you would pay to see a now 0-12 team. But maybe we should go there for our trip next year. That seems
great.
Here, Massachusetts is lovely in the fall, and we'll probably we might even be able to play.
Yeah, hey. I think we got eligibility left.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Mark, thank you for joining us. And if you want to find him, you can find him at Coach's Hot Seat. CoachesHotSeat.com for all the latest news of the coaching carousel. And I'm sure there's more movement going to be coming along. And you can also find us. Don't forget, please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. That's Targeting Winners. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. In the comment section, let us know what new coaches you want for your favorite team that had to shit can their coach this year. And if your team is good and did not have to fire their coach, congratulations. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you next week for Championship Saturday.